Recently, I asked my audience what was the most time consuming thing you do for your podcast, and it may not surprise you that 45% of them said editing. So, if editing takes so much time, why would any podcaster in their right mind add video to the mix? Well, my friends, today I want to tell you about how I add video to my solo podcast episodes using Ecamm Live. Let's dive into it. Hey, everybody, my name is Joe Casabona. I'm a podcast systems coach, and today I'm going to give you a behind the scenes look at how I run my live streams, these videos that I record, and my solo podcast episodes, which I have been adding video to, all without having to do a ton of editing. And I want to thank Ecamm Live for sponsoring this video and for sponsoring my website, podcastworkflows.com, for the month of May. You can learn more about them over at podcastworkflows.com/ecamm, or you can just stick around and watch this video and learn more about them. So let's actually dive into it. This is Ecamm Live. Now I have a special setting on that shows everything so that you can see what Ecamm Live actually looks like as the control center. If I was actually streaming or recording a video, you would see something like this if I was sharing the screen, because Ecamm Live by default hides all of its windows and its overlays so that it's not part of the broadcast. I have to explicitly turn it on to show you these things. Now, the other thing I'll do is Ecamm Live, the main window is this one that I'm moving around right now. I'm going to slide this off screen so that we're not getting a weird mirror effect. And what will happen is a preview window will pop up, though I think that since I also moved that off screen, we're probably not seeing it. So you can, oh yeah, here we go. I'll bring it back on screen for a minute. If Ecamm Live is not the active window, you will see this screen. Again, this is generally just for you. You can put it in the corner or off screen. And that's so you can see what is in the broadcast or what you're seeing on the recording. So I can confidently record knowing that you can see everything that I'm referencing. Just going to move that off screen. And for off screen, I do have the Elgato prompter, so you can see me here. This is my iPhone that I'm using as a second camera, but you can see the prompter right here. So that is how I am moving things off screen, and I am switching between all of this stuff using the scenes that I've created in Ecamm Live. So again, let me bring this screen back for you. And I am showing my Stream Deck because this is really the combination of the Stream Deck and Ecamm Live are what makes all of this stuff killer. But let's take a quick walk through how I put together one of these broadcasts. So you can see I have an overlays window here. This is stuff that I can bring up during the broadcast. So if I click Good House iPhone, which is my iPhone, I'll click it here. And well, you're probably not seeing much of anything because I don't have that one hooked up. But 4K bottom left is me right now. So if I click the eyeball here, that'll disappear. If I click it, it'll come back. The same thing with a bunch of overlays and text. So for example, if I'm promoting Streamline.fm, I have that overlay. This is going to change from scene to scene. And that's the other thing that I want to draw attention to over here. So I'll bring it back into the, actually gotta move it so that you can actually see it. But these are all of the scenes that I've built in Ecamm Live, and you can have different profiles. I have one for, my live streams used to be called Build Something Live, but I also have one for like vertical videos. But these are all of the scenes that I can switch between. So for example, SS lower third is Streamline Solopreneur lower third. Let me get rid of the bottom left overlay. So if I click that, it changes to this scene where it's my camera and a lower third that I've created. If I click main promo, I don't know what this one says. I didn't prepare this one. Okay, so this was something that I did for some sort of fest that I did that I just haven't uploaded yet or updated yet. So These are scenes. The main difference between scenes and overlays is that scenes are built from overlays. You can have multiple overlays in a scene, but a scene is one discrete thing that you can switch between. So my main camera is a scene. And so the scene that you're seeing here is one that I built from multiple overlays. Same thing with this one. This is going to look pretty bad. This is one that I've built where when I have slides or text that I want to have on one side of the screen, I'll usually open up Canva and I'll get like a nice kind of split screen going there. So those are scenes and overlays in Ecamm Live. And if I switch back to our view of everything, the real magic happens with the Stream Deck that you see on screen here. So you can see I'm on the second page of my Stream Deck XL. If I go to the first, this is just like general controls. You can see I have controls for lighting, music, websites, and my time tracking. But page 2 is completely dedicated to Ecamm Live. And so I have the scenes across the top. If I press this button here, it's going to open up this camera. If I press the second button, it's going to open up the screen sharing that I usually go to. And you can see that I have a button here for show everything. That's going to show everything. There are some that control overlays. So like bot left here, if I press that, I'll go away. I have promo, which is whatever I'm promoting. I'll usually prepare these. So you might have seen that if I get rid of that overlay, I can switch to my SS lower third scene like I showed you earlier. That's going to have a few overlays for my lower third with my title. And then this is a completely separate scene for my sponsor, right? So I've prepared this ahead of time. I want those two things to be scenes because I don't want to accidentally leave overlays like you're seeing here with my bottom left, right? That's something that this camera is something that I can pop in at any time. If I'm completely sharing a screen like this one and I want to just pop in, that's why that one exists. And again, this makes it so I don't have to record multiple sources and then combine them later. The other great thing that Ecamm Live does is it gives you the ability to switch camera sources. So you can see I have a bunch of different camera sources. Many of these aren't working, and some of these are associated with guests. So if I want to bring someone into a stream, I can show you what a not working scene will look like. So this is, you could see like guest, there's like a guest 1 and a guest 2 that would be in this split screen. And then if I go back here and bring myself back in, there's also like a zoom scene. So you could see this button down here. If I press that, it'll just kind of give the zoom effect. So if I delete this, you know, this is like the zoom for effect thing, right? That like hard cut that some YouTubers will do. Really easy for me to do in Ecamm Live instead of having to do it in post. So I love Ecamm Live for all of this. It makes this, I'm going to do minimal editing on this video. Only really if I mess up something will I have to edit. I'm not going to have to edit in the lower thirds or the link for Ecamm Live as a sponsor because I've gone ahead and I've prepared these overlays and these scenes already so I can easily bring them in. This is where Ecamm Live shines. And again, like if you don't, maybe you don't have a second camera, but if you do have an iPhone, like you can have a second camera. Really easy to switch between these two views. I call this one Skycam. But you know, if I want to give a tour of my desk, I can easily do that here. So, and you can see I'm adjusting the camera here, but then I can also look up at this camera up here. Really fantastic stuff. So the last thing I want to show you here in Ecamm Live before I talk about how you can use this for solo podcast episodes and solo videos is the sound levels, right? The sound panel that you see here. There are multiple different input sources, right? Including, I have the Rodecaster Pro and then the main multi-track. The main difference between these two is that the Rodecaster Pro chat only includes my microphone that I'm talking on. Main multi-track includes all computer audio. So if I want to bring in music during my live streams, or sound effects of some sort, I can do it here. Again, stuff that I don't necessarily need to add in post-production. If you don't have a Rodecaster Pro, you can always add the system audio. So you can update this and it'll bring in the system audio. The sound effects here are not muted, so you might be able to hear if I press one of the sound effects buttons. Oh no, this is sound effects actually inside Ecamm Live. So you can also add sound effects there, which is super great. All of this to say that if you want to add video to your podcast, but you are worried about the amount of time it takes to edit, here's my advice. Number one, start with solo episodes, because then you don't have to worry about recording in something like Riverside or Squadcast to get that kind of unedited version of the videos that you'll have to combine later. You can record everything in Ecamm Live, and Ecamm Live does allow guests. I'll talk about that in a minute, but you can record everything in Ecamm Live, and then you can create these scenes that you don't necessarily need a Stream Deck for, though the Stream Deck makes it very convenient, so that if you are referencing something, or you do want to share your screen, or you want to add some slides to make it more visually appealing, then Ecamm Live makes it super easy to do that. So the big thing, I think, is when you're creating an audio-only content, you don't need to make it visually appealing. You don't need to change the visuals every so often to keep your listeners engaged. When you create video, you have to do that, because if people are watching, they want to remain engaged. And Ecamm Live makes it super easy to do that. You can basically do recording live to tape, and then just edit for content, right? There's a couple of times I messed up. You probably saw a couple of hard cuts. Those are the only edits I need to make to this video, thanks to Ecamm Live. So huge fan of Ecamm Live. Now, I will say, like I mentioned, Ecamm Live does allow for audio, for guest recordings, for interviews. So actually, maybe I will bring that back up here, and I'll kind of show you what that overlay looks like, or what that interface looks like. So let me see here. There is an overlay for interview. So you can share a link with your guests, and they'll be brought in right here, and then they'll be added basically as a camera, right? Like you saw here. And then you can add them to the broadcast. If you're recording, that's great. The big difference between recording in something like Riverside or Squadcast and recording in Ecamm Live is that Riverside does get the local recordings. That said, if you and your guest have a really reliable internet connection, you're going to get a good quality broadcast either way, right? It's not going to be like 4K, but most content is not in 4K anyway, right? People are watching on their phones, and when you do the kind of combined effect, it could be 4K. This video is not even in 4K. This is HD, I think. And so that might not be a big problem to you, right? The wonderful thing is, if there are issues with internet connections with a guest, you can always edit in Descript or some other editing tools that Ecamm Live automatically integrate with. So if you do use Descript, you can export your Ecamm Live recording directly to Descript and make the edits that you need to. I prefer to use ScreenFlow, and so it's really easy for me to just grab the file in ScreenFlow, in Finder, and move it into ScreenFlow. And the last thing that I'll show you here, because even though Ecamm Live is live recording software, they do make it super duper easy for you to do some editing. So I'll share my entire screen, and I'll actually move this over here so that you can see there's a pause button right here. So if I need to take a minute and I don't want to just keep the camera rolling, I can click pause, and then I can resume like nothing happened, right? So that's great. And then the other thing I will show you here in the Ecamm settings is for recording, you can choose record all broadcast, which is what I'm doing, but I'm also recording camera A separately, which means that no matter what, I will have a continuous shot of my main camera, of camera A. So that's recording it separately, which is fantastic because if I do want to go in and make some edits, I can. The same thing for audio. So I can, did I go off the wrong place? I can record isolated audio as well, which I'm not seeing here in the recording settings. Oh, record isolated audio tracks. I can't change that while I'm recording right now, but record isolated audio tracks. So this will grab each audio track as a separate file. So if you are recording a podcast and you maybe want to release the video for your members only, which is generally what I've been doing lately, and you just want to release the audio, you don't have to rip the audio from the video. You're going to get that from Ecamm Live. So huge fan of Ecamm. I basically just spent this whole video gushing. I'd love to know what you think about Ecamm Live, or if you want to see more like this. Do you want to see me build scenes or build lower thirds or show you what a finished podcast solo episode product recorded through Ecamm Live would look like? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more content. And of course, check out the sponsor for this video, Ecamm Live. I don't think I need to do a discrete sponsor read because I just spent 15 or so minutes talking about how great Ecamm Live is. You can learn more about them over at podcastworkflows.com/Ecamm. Thanks so much for watching. Again, my name is Joe Casabona. I'm a podcast systems coach. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I'll see you out there.